call to order the Effingham County Board of Commissioners meeting for June 19th, 2018. And at this time, I'm going to ask Mr. Deloach if he would lead us in invocation, and our President to flag with our rights.
Please bow your heads. Dear Lord, thank you for the many blessings you have provided us with. Please be with us this evening and help us do your will. And please be with our world leaders at this time. In your name we pray, Lord. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You know, a commissioner is close to God when he prays and then God calls him back.
That's right. Hope you don't fall
You know, it
asleep.
sounds good when you have a full house and you say the pledge of allegiance to the flag and kind of makes you smile and be proud to be American. So I appreciate everyone being here tonight for this morning. With that, we'll move to the approval of the agenda, and I understand we have some corrections or additions to the agenda. Come on.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. You have reviewing your additional materials. Staff is requesting to add as consent agenda number 9, consideration to approve a memorandum of agreement between Effingham County Board of Commissioners and the Department of Community Affairs to receive a one-time grant in the amount of $1,312.
Okay, and that's an addition.
Yes, sir, under consent. Also, under your planning board items, I have received a request to remove items number 3 and 4. That's an application by Fred Ryan to rezone the property on Valley Court to industrial. That item will be removed.
Item 3 and 4.
Yes, sir.
So I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of consent item number 8. Number 9, and also the removal of the planning board items number 3 and 4.
Make a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of number 9 that's on the agenda, on the consent agenda, and remove item 3 and 4 off the planning board.
Second.
Mr. Deloach, first, second, Mr. Deloach, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And it carries. We have an agenda. Once again, welcome to the public. Appreciate you being here this evening. And as we get to opportunities for public comment, just please keep your comments to the agenda. If we have some time at the end, we may see if there's any other items that we can listen to tonight. You know, we have a large agenda, so please keep your comments to our agenda this evening. And with that, we'll go ahead and skip the public hearings to 5:15. We'll get into correspondences. The documents for our meeting tonight are located in the clerk's office. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to review those and are prepared. They're also on our website as well. Just want to make you aware of that. And I believe I have time to read our consent agenda and get that out of the way before we
You might want to announce it about there's a lot of people here for 3 and 4 on the planning board and all that.
Okay, is anyone here tonight here for planning board? Items number 3 and 4, we'll read those to you, so what they are. You can have a agenda for you. The planning board recommends denying an application by Fred Ryan to rezone 20 acres out of 40.61 acres located at 105 Raleigh Court, et cetera, and that item has been removed as well as item number 4. Anyone here for that? There is no public hearing. There's no action going to be taken tonight. That request has been asked to be removed. So we'll say you have to sit through a long meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I think we did do the minutes. The minutes.
We need to approve the minutes. Feel free to speak up. Yes, I'm trying.
All right, very good. We'll let these folks get a little quick of that. All right. Consideration to approve the minutes of June 5th, 2018. The commission read. Let me suggest one correction to the motion that Ms. Jones made, as well as in the minutes. If you've read those, the request was to change the part 11 back to the heading of commissioners, and then change the consulting line item to legal and professional services. And with that, I read the minutes, I can see the items to be corrected. Is there any other additions or corrections to minutes?
That was correction to my motion, like you were clarifying that I
The
said that.
motion said, according to my notes, said that
Yes.
when to change the heading to commissioners, not, it was, and they
Just
changed the
getting
line.
the wording right, it wasn't a motion. That's correct, that's
Right,
correct.
so the minutes are correct now. So I have a motion to approve the minutes with that one correction to what she gave us.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Jones, second by Mr. Deloach. All in favor, say aye.
Except I'm staying because I stepped out.
That's right, we're not just for that. Right. Thank you, sir. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, no. With one abstention, it is approved. Okay. I'm going to try to read through these consent items if we could. We're going to do that, then we'll come back to the public hearing in the middle of 5:15. Okay? Did I miss anything on the agenda? I'll let you know.
You got it.
All right, consent agenda. These are items on our consent agenda. Consideration to approve to renew the agreement for lodging excise tax distributed with the Effingham County Chamber of Commerce. Consideration to approve to renew the agreement with the city of Lincoln for the use of an inmate work detail for an additional 12-month period. And item 3 is consideration to approve the lease agreement between Effingham County and the State Properties Commission for office space for the Department of Juvenile Justice. Consent item number 4 is consideration to approve amendment number 2 to extend the agreement with the city of Lincoln to operate fire station number 4 for an additional year from July 1, 2018 to June 30, 2019. Consent item number 5 is consideration to approve to renew the memorandum of understanding with Georgia Forest Commission for the antenna receiver space on the county tower located at transfer site on Courthouse Road. Item number 6, consideration to approve an agreement with the Georgia Department of Transportation, GDOT, for an inmate detail for fiscal year 2019. Item number 7 on the consent agenda is agreement to approve a 1-year renewal of the 5 service agreement with the city of Springfield. Item number 8 on the consent agenda is consideration to approve to renew the mini bulk product and equipment agreement with Univar. And then number 9, the item we added on the consent agenda is consideration to approve a memorandum of agreement between Effingham County Board of Commissioners and the Department of Community Affairs to receive a one-time grant in the amount of $1,312. Do you have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion Mr. Deloach, second Mr. Floyd to approve the consent agenda. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed no. And it carries. All right, that'll take us 10 minutes. Move on with it.
Yes, and we need to close out this meeting.
Okay. So we're closing the prayer meeting, we're opening a public hearing on our agenda. We're now opening a public hearing on our agenda. It's 5:14, that's pretty close. We'll turn it over to finance or administrator to present.
You have to make motion to that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Obviously, we've been working on the budget, and what we're doing tonight in this public hearing is to hear from the public, to set our millage rate. The very basis of the budget that we produced was based on maintaining the existing millage rate of 6.558 on our general fund. This was advertised and released, and basically produced by the tax commissioner and the tax assessor, as well as our finance department, to get these statistics and numbers correctly. Basically, we're seeing growth in the county. We have about $100 million increase to the tax digest based on fair market value. And that's to the digest, not to the budget. And basically, it's a 2.45% increase year over year. And we are proposing that we set this millage rate at 6.558, which is exactly the same rate that we had last year. We have met all the legal guidelines on advertising and in the public, and we are asking for board approval on adopting the millage rate of 6.558.
Very good. You know, I pulled some information and thought the public might just be interested to know, and it kind of speaks well of our board. Wish I could take credit for this, but I can't because I wasn't on the board. But just so we kind of understand where we are with our millage and our tax digest and tax revenues that we are generating in our current 2018 budget. Just for information, in 2009, the taxable digest we had in our budget was $1.767 billion. That was our taxable digest 4% value, all properties. We have yet to get back to that level. This year, the taxable digest is 1.757. We're 10 million below the actual tax digest that we had in 09. We had that crash of 08 and 09, and then it started hitting. Digest went down to 2012 to 1.53 million, 1.525 in 13, 1.528. And then in 15, it started creeping up with some growth to 1.546, 1.604, 1.659 in 17. And this year, 1.757. That's what the federal land application now added to it. And that's where our digest is. So to me, I just want to thank this board because the millage rate in 07 was actually 8.913, and today it's 8.308. And so the millage continues to come down, and we are actually operating today on the same tax revenues we received in 2009. Now think about that, with the population growth, the additional fire and police that we needed to improve our services, and we are still operating on the same property taxes that we had back in 09. And you can't say that all that's related to increase in loss and SPLOS because actually when the economy crashed, we lost loss and SPLOS as well. We're just now getting that back to those same levels. So I just want to say this to make public understand and I commend this board on the good efforts of holding the expenditures, providing the extra service and improved services, and keeping our millage at the same rate. With that, we do understand that there is a 2.45% increase on some property owners this year. But even at that level, just so you understand, nobody on the home in 09 is paying any more taxes today than they paid in 09. We have not got back to that level of 09 taxes. The value of our digest, 1.757, is related to our growth. Because if you own a home in 09 with the Carter Burns exemption, we cannot go up higher than a COLA per year on your increases. Is that pretty much correct? COLA, 3%, there's some things you can do. And so we probably haven't gone up just a few percentage on those homes. So I think we should feel comfortable that we're giving us a budget that's going to improve our services right on, keep our millage stable and solid. And even if we had an increase this year of $9 to $12 on a $100,000 house, it'll just be a few, and your taxes are still lower than they were in 2009. So that's my little sermon, just to thank this board for a good job of lowering the millage and keeping tax revenues in a fast-growing community.
Can I add something?
Sure, absolutely.
I feel compelled to because I ran for office the following year, and so I've been in office the whole 8 years of the Great Recession. And we did work very hard. Thank you. It was very hard. It's easy when money's coming into the county and everybody can get what they want, and you know everybody has needs in every single department. And this board had to work very hard at cutting all types of anything that we could find that we deemed was not necessary. We cut those things. One of the things that doesn't happen often when money's not coming in the same is it doesn't necessarily affect that crime slows down. So there were always needs still in the sheriff's department and other places like that for actual growth because they were experiencing additional crime. We were receiving less money. So during those few years, we did the best we could at finding those kind of areas and then cut in other areas. So that is a little history that's important. And I do think when you guys come to hear why we do what we do, I think the background and information of those kind of things are very important. So that when we come to a decision this year of are we going to do a rollback or not, in my mind, one of the things I wanted to say was every year Sheriff McDuffie worked with us so much about things would be going on in the state where law enforcement was receiving good raises that they needed. And, We just didn't have the money to do that type of thing. And I kept saying, hold on, just please wait, because pretty soon we're gonna have new money coming from new growth. We won't have to raise taxes on the existing citizens, and we can use the new growth money. And so that's, in my mind, that's where we are now. We're finally getting some money in from new growth. We're not determining to use that money to roll back people's existing taxes, but we're also not changing the millage. So whatever, if they don't have a property tax value increase, whatever they paid last year is what we're going to pay this year, which is going to be the vast majority of citizens. So I just wanted to clarify that, because there's all kinds of rumors going around, there's all kinds of things being said, so I just want to get that clear.
Thank you. I'll see if there's any other comments from the commissions, and then if not, we'll see if the public would like to ask some questions about the millage. We'll come back to our commission, we have some more responses from the public. Anyone from the public like to respond to our other question or comment on the millage that we are having the public hearing on that? Anyone want to speak for or against? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, and I'll just see if there comes any other comments from the commission. And we don't have a vote this time for this, right? So we just
Close out.
go back into regular session.
Close it out and go back in the regular session.
That's what I said, closing the public hearing, we will go back into regular session. Okay? Very good, we've already done our consent agenda. We have our guest, okay, that's one of our agenda items now. Our guest would be, we'll begin with our new business. Consideration, item number one, new business consideration to approve the second reading of the budget and budget ordinance for fiscal year 2018-2019. All right, tell you what we'll do, so we can do some very orderly fashion. Let's let the administration respond to the 9 items that we asked you to review and give us a report on those. And let's hear from our Board of Commissioners. We'll follow that. If they have any additional questions, comments they need to make regarding the budget. And then if you have not addressed it in 9 items, and you have not addressed it in our discussions, then we'll give you a chance, if you have another item that haven't get discussed, we'll give you a chance to comment on that. Fair enough? Okay. So it's going to second reading, you address the 9 items that we do us?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I passed out this sheet as the comparison between the first and second reading. We'll start, the 9 changes are on page 3. And you look at the chart here, you have the 1 through 9, and it has the corresponding page number in the budget. You all should have your budget, the new revised budget for the second reading that includes all these changes. But the first one was removing the admin building from the bond. We reduced the amount of the bond, and we removed the debt service of the $495,000 from the budget. We have reinstated $200,000, not in the bond, but just in the regular, what we're taking out of the debt service for engineering services to continue the process of planning toward a new admin building in the future. And that's on page 125 and 128. The second one was elected officials and constitutional officers. We had erroneously named all elected officials as constitutional officers. That was changed on page 4 and on page 22, which is actually the org chart. The third one was changing Department 11, the actual name of it, from administration to county commissioners. And it also named the county attorney in the budget, rather than naming it as a consultant, it's actually attorney and professional services, as corresponds with the state auditing requirements in the GL, corresponding GL accounts. And that is on page 31. The org chart, as I stated, is on page 22. We made the edit to that for the constitutional officers, as previously mentioned, but we also made the edit to the location of the administrator and slid that to the side, so there's a direct route from the Board of Commissioners to the department heads and the divisions in the org chart. Number 5 is moving the deputy sheriff from the sheriff's office to the magistrate court. During the budget hearings and during our review of the budget, there was a title under the magistrate court of deputy sheriff, and we thought it was erroneously put there. Well, it wasn't. It was a deputy sheriff, but it was an actual employee of the magistrate court judge. So we erroneously had moved that to the sheriff's office. We're moving that back. It's on page 44 and 48, and that's the magistrate court budget and the sheriff's budget. So we're moving it from one, adding it to the other. Number 6 is provide additional seasonal employee hours for the recreation department. We did not include the additional request for those seasonal hours in the initial proposed budget. That's on page 91. We have actually padded that number just a little bit. We put 8,500 hours in there. Their request was like 8,100 and change with the addition from last year's. So that is on 91. Number 7, we provided funding for the Sand Hill parking lot and other improvements. That's on page 125, and it's got the capital project sheet on page 183 that corresponds with that. And we did include improvements. We got an initial, just a verbal quote on a parking lot of about $110,000 for there. That part, we decided that we would put a little bit more money out of we're using the 495 debt service that we had taken from the admin building to do this. We added a little bit more because there's actually some damaged playground equipment, and we just figured we could use that extra $40,000 to do other improvements specific to that park. So, number 8, the request column in the budget. That was something that we had a lot of discussion about. That's on every department. There's a request line. We also have all of the request sheets that were provided to the staff and the administration. So that is in every line and every budget for every department. So it's a column on the page. We squeezed it in there. It's made the numbers a little bit smaller, so hopefully everybody can see it. But the line is there on what they requested. Number 9 was an edit to the Grace Lane capital project, and that was just a terminology issue there on a temporary road, and we added that language on page 143, which is the actual capital project sheet. Okay, those are the 9 things.
We removed the logo.
That we didn't actually have that as one of our 9 things on our list, but we also went back and we edited. I've got other edits other than the 9, and that's what I was about to get into, Commissioner Bloches. Basically, we made some other edits to the language of the introduction letter.
So you got some additional edits and adjustments beside the motion?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So, and that's one of them. We removed the logo language from the sheet. There was some discussion on whether or not that language was in there, that you were informally adopting it or not. The language has been removed from